To Embracing Differences with me, Nipin Anand. I have with me uh, a new friend and the guest of this podcast. Just to give you some background, we spoke uh, about the start of this week, and we recorded a nice podcast. But at the end, we realized that we missed out some very important things in that podcast, which I believe would make it so much more enriching. And we thought it'll be nice to do a little podcast, and then we could probably release that one at another time. So, Bikram, I think it would be great to hear about you from you, rather than me introducing you.
Yeah. Thank you, Nipin, first of all, for inviting me to this podcast. It's my honor and privilege to be part of this podcast and having a conversation with you. My name is Bikram. I currently work at HVL, which is a university in Norway. It's called Western Norway University of Applied Sciences. I've been here for the last 3 months. Prior working here, I was working with the World Maritime University. I did my research there at WMU, and prior to that, I was working on ships. I worked for over 15 years, and I've mainly worked on oil chemical tankers trading worldwide routes.
Great, Bikram. And as we discussed, let's make it a conversation between two seafarers at about 11 o'clock in the morning, sitting in a cafe and having a conversation. So, tell me about yourself, Bikram, a little bit more, and how you came to this area of research, or whatever you want to share. Yes.
Right. So it all began, when I was growing up. So I come from a very humble background. I was living in Mumbai. My dad, he moved from Punjab to Mumbai to have a better living, and so I was born in Mumbai. I was raised up there. I did my schooling, and during those period, there was always the expectation from my dad to get into merchant navy because he perceived this industry as well paying. And even during our conversation, he used to say that you just get better pay and there's very little work on board the vessel. Uh, which was exactly not the case when I went on board for the first time. I saw that the reality was completely different what I was told. So I worked on the ship, and obviously the things were pretty tough on board. There were long working hours, and there were a lot of other seafaring issues what we see currently with the current seafarers. So that is what led me to into research world, where I wanted to investigate more if I was the only one facing this issue or if it's a global phenomena. And through my research time at the WMU, I found that the issue I was facing was basically a issue which is happening on a larger scale, on a widespread scale with other seafarers. And this is what I plan to do while at HVL, is to continue working into those areas and then see how we can make this industry much more better.
Yeah. It's interesting, Bikram, that the what I find very powerful in your story is the misalignment between the expectations and the reality. That here's a dad showing his son a picture of what you call merchant navy, which is global shipping. That it's a lot of fun and very little work. And here we have a son, many decades later, sitting down and thinking about the question of work and work hours and how that corresponds with good living. And I'll share my own story with you, Bikram. I just like you, come from a very humble background, and my first ship, I was going away for 18 months. And my mother only came to know on the day before I packed my bags. And she walked into my room. It was hardly a room. And she came to me and she said, Beta, as a son, don't come back home before finishing your tenure. Otherwise, you will bring a lot of shame to the family. It was a working class family, as we call it here in the UK. And she was, there was a paradox there, but because she broke down when she came to know that I'm leaving for 18 months. It's a very, very long time for a mom. And at the same time, she is admonishing me not to come back home. And it must be, when I look back at it, of course, she passed away 2 years ago, and it was very hard on me. But when I look back at it, what a paradox this woman must be living. On the one hand, the shame of the society, and on the other hand, you have this urge um, for your son to finish his tenure and not bring shame to the family. So I think you're constantly juggling between two worlds, and here I listened to you, and it made so much sense, Bikram. Is there more you want to say about that?
Yeah, I think I share the same story as well as you just mentioned, Nipin, because even at times on board the vessel when I was in my earlier days, I felt that probably I can quit, but I couldn't do that. I used to cry in my cabin. I couldn't go back and say to my dad, I can't do it. So because there was always the expectation from the family, that I would keep up to their promises of, getting more money at home and continue working in this industry. And even after I became master, when I was getting into the research world, my dad was not really happy because he was thinking that he has left a good career which pays well, and now in this research world he doesn't get well paid. So even now there's expectation from my family, for me to go back on board and start earning the same which I was doing earlier.
Wow, this is so powerful. I remember being at the University of Nottingham, Bikram, and a very proud moment that I was working as a research fellow there. And I used to walk every day home, about 2 kilometers walk from Woollerton to the university. And I remember one day coming back home, and I was in a very happy mood, and I called my mom and my dad and said, shared some of my happiness about, how I have longed for this intellectual kind of lifestyle, and I'm so happy with it. And my dad said that, all that is fine, but how much are you getting paid? And that was a moment of I it was very depressing moment, Bikram, very depressing. And I still think about it to say how much of life is lived, um, uh, buried under somebody else's expectations. And to add to all this, the part of the world where we come from, probably people are listening to us, they would still think that we are selfish because a lot of life is actually owed to parents, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just I do feel there is an element of liberation here when you talk about these things.
Yeah, I totally agree on that, Nipin. But I believe, for myself, I've done my part as a family member, and this is the time where I could pursue my own interest. So I felt, the money we had, I think I'm able to provide a good financial stability to my family, and I think I've done my part because that was their expectation. Now I feel that I can pursue my own goals and interests and whatever I want to pursue in my life, and this is what currently I'm doing at
Well,
HVL.
I look at you and I look at myself 10 years ago. 2000, maybe more. 2005 is when I started my research journey. And there are so many parallels, Vikram, so many parallels. I think we make a connection instantly there. Bikram, also, when we last spoke, you talked about one particular thing that still stays on my mind, which is your first birthday on the ship. Do you want to talk about that? I thought it was very powerful.
Yeah, yes, Nipin. Yeah, so I joined my first vessel, and it was few days prior to my birthday. And so once I joined the vessel, I got so busy with the ship operation. So we were supposed to load. I was on a chemical tanker, so we were supposed to load methanol, which is a gold standard cargo in chemical tankers, which means it needs a very high standard of cleaning, which obviously means there has to be more work from the ship seafarers, to get that standard. So I got so busy with ship's work, with the ship operation 6 on 6 off, I lost the control of the time. I couldn't know what time I was, on board the vessel, and during that process, I missed my birthday, which was on the 26th January, and it was on the 27th morning. Second mate from the bridge, he called me on the walkie-talkie saying, Bikram, do you remember what date is today? I said, I don't remember. And he said, it's 27th January and you missed your birthday. And then just to celebrate my birthday, he called me on the bridge and we made bhel puri and had it together. So yeah, because of the ship operation, I was so busy, with the work. six on, six off. I never knew what was happening around, what's happening at home, or what's so I was never involved in this, outside the ship's world. It was all ship, what I was being through, and that is the life I was living in.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Bikram, because I don't know about you, but you do write a logbook every day when you're on the ship. So when you wrote the date 26th January, it didn't occur to you at all?
No, actually, I was still not a bridge officer. So I was basically, it was my first ship. First few days of my first ship, and
Understood.
I never went on the bridge before going to the second officer and eating a bhel puri. So and I was all working on the deck with hands. We used to have manual tank cleaning machines where you have to pull up the tank cleaning machine from the tank and put it in the other tanks and keep on shifting these hoses. So there was a lot of manual work which used to happen during those days on chemical tanker. So I was so busy with those manual work, I couldn't do anything else. It was just working, eating, and sleeping. That's it.
So how did it feel when he wished you a belated happy birthday? By the way, belated happy birthday. Mine is on the 11th of February, so just passed also to both of us. But how did it feel when this second officer greeted you on the next day?
Yeah, thank you for wishing me a birthday, Nipin. Yeah, I felt nice because I think he was the first one to wish me a birthday, because I couldn't connect to my family as well, because they might be trying to get in touch with me, but I mean, obviously I was on a ship, so they couldn't. So he was the first person to wish me a birthday, and was really happy and also surprised at the same time. How could I miss my birthday? And it happened with me for the first time in my life that I missed my birthday. So, and I was also happy that on ship people think about people, and there were a lot of difficult times on board the vessel. This workload and a lot of pressure on the ship, but it's also about people. So the way second mate greeted me and celebrated my birthday, I was so touched by that gesture. And even I believe until today, it's not the ship, it's not the equipments which make the ship work. It's the people like the second mate I had, and there were many other people in my life after that. So it's people like those who make the ships run. And I think slowly by slowly we see these kind of people are leaving the industry, which should be worrying for the industry now.
Wow, this is. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Uh,
Um,
Yeah. I mean, obviously, when I was growing up on a ship, I had a lot of officers who were caring about people. For example, I've told you about second mate. So it was not only that particular birthday. He took care of me during my entire tenure. As if I was his younger brother.
wow.
Uh, and I had many of these officers during my life. I had a chief mate who used to see me as his kid, and he took care of me. Although I need to work hard on the vessel, but he made sure that I was comfortable. Even if I was working hard, I was getting sleep or not. So they were very conscious about that, and they couldn't do much beyond what they could have done. So they tried to do their best in the given circumstances, but that was actually not good enough. So I had these kind of people on board the vessel who were taking care of other people, like me in my situation. And we see through our research that these kind of people, because there's a lot of stress and workload on the ship, they feel that
Hmm, hmm.
they need to move on and probably look somewhere else to earn their living.
Absolutely, and I had a chief cook, a Sri Lankan chief cook who couldn't see. I'd stopped eating because I just couldn't eat the food on the ship, the kind of food that was cooked. So he used to leave a bowl of fried rice for me every day on the dinner table. And one day the captain saw it and he became very furious that why are you cooking something special for the cadet? And he said the cadet is not eating. And I have so much respect and time for that person, and many other people like you that have touched our life. It's interesting that we don't share these stories as much as we should. I mean, we seafarers are full of stories of kindness, compassion, but also the opposite of it, which is bullying and so on. And we don't talk about these things so much. But I want to go back to your research topic and ask you, for the How did this whole idea of researching the area that you research, how did it formulate over the period of time? Where did the penny drop that this is what you want to do?
I think the starting point would be when I went on board for the first time. Obviously, during that moment, I never thought of doing a research, but there was always the idea that why we have to work so much on the ship. Prior getting on the ship, obviously, your daily schedule is it's pretty fixed. It's there's a routine there. But when I went on board the vessel, it was chaotic. So it was the ship operation which was dictating your routine, 6 on, 6 off, 4 and 8 off, and all that stuff. So and 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 as a cadet, I went through those routines on the ship where I was not getting proper sleep, rest, and there was a lot of work. Even I remember there was a case where I have to sleep in the pump room, hiding from my chief officer. Uh, and once the chief mate knew that I was sleeping there, he was furious with me. He couldn't talk to me, after for a couple of days because he was angry on me. Why do I have to sleep on the pump room? And I said to him, I never had the courage to tell you this, that I need rest. So I have to hide from you to get rest. And the pump room was the best place because it also had a bunker tank, which was giving me that heat. So it was giving me a nice sleep there in the
Nice and
pump
warm.
room. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So as time went by, even when I was a kid, I was thinking probably when I become a second mate, or third mate, or second mate, life would be much better. I would have better working hours and more sleep. But that never happened. As I went on with my rank, the working hours, the workload kept on increasing. But then I had a hope when I became a master. I thought, okay, probably this is the moment where I can, live a better life and also provide better life to people who are working on board the vessel with me. But even that never happened. There were a lot of things as a captain which you don't have under your control. And even if you try to make an impact, your impact would be limited on that particular vessel. And I was sure because during my seafaring career, I was talking to a lot of other friends and colleagues, and they had very similar problem. So I realized that this is something which is not only my issue, but it's a common problem across at least in India. So when I came to the World Maritime University, I was told that you need to do a master's program, which involves doing a thesis, and that is where this idea clicked, where uh, where I started looking for a supervisor who can help me with this topic of fatigue. And that is where I met Professor Rafael Baumler, and he opened my eyes, a bit wider to look at this issue from this perspective. And then from then that point onwards, we started looking this issue from the perspective of falsification of records. And now from that point onwards, we are here where our research is being currently discussed widely across the industry, including in the IMO and the ILO.
And you have written extensively about that, I know, and I have read some of your work. Um, uh, Before we get into that, and we won't take very long to discuss that, I'm just wondering, listening to all your stories, Bikram, that as I listen to you, what I see through a common pattern that repeats through the story, which is through your ranks, right from being a cadet to an officer to a captain, you're constantly fighting this expectation that your dad had seeded right in the beginning, that it's a good life and it's a relaxed life and it's little work. And here you are constantly kind of looking for that but reality does not offer anything close to that. And I get the feeling that that must have been a very important thing in your life to break from that in some way, or maybe find a shelter in research to say how can I. So maybe I don't know. I mean, to what extent that would be even a topic to. Do you talk about it in the open, Vikram? This thing.
Not really the personal side of it, but since I'm in the academia and where we are being told in the academia that your discussion should be unbiased, so I don't bring a lot of my experiences during all this discussion. So I try to move my discussion from my own experience to the research and see how I can provide more valid and more objective evidences on this particular phenomena. So wherever I go in any conferences or whenever I talk to anyone, I make sure that I speak from the facts, which data provides me, not my own experience. And I think it is the first time with you where I'm sharing my own experience with this topic, and I think I should be doing that quite more.
I think so. I mean, I understand the need for authority and validation through objective science, but what's interesting is that everything that underpins that is curiosity and self-lived experiences. And we can pretend to say none of that should contaminate the research, but the moment you frame a research question, it already has an underpinning of your own life experiences. You can't run away from that. So I think
Hmm.
we create that picture. And I find it fascinating, Bikram, just discussing that one thing, that to what extent our own experiences actually reflect in our unbiased
Hmm.
research. Um, I think we have covered a great deal, but in closing, I would only ask one question from you, which is that where are you with your research today, and what can the industry learn from what you have learned through the years of practice and research and so on?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, so as I said earlier, I mean, our research has been under discussion within the industry. It's been highly debated, across the industry.
Thank you, Vikram, for all your thoughts. Before we go, where should people find you? Obviously, I will put your research work and but if people need to talk to you, where should they find you?
Uh, Thank you, Nipin. Yeah, the best way would be to look at the LinkedIn where I'm available commonly. Yeah, that would be a point of contact for to get in touch with me.
Great. I will leave your LinkedIn account link along with this podcast. And is there anything else you want to say in closing?
And not really, Nipin. Thanks a lot for this conversation. I really enjoyed this, and I hope we can have more conversation as we go forward.
Absolutely. There is nothing more powerful than two seafarers talking and sharing their stories. I thought this was a wonderful podcast, and I can only thank you for giving me the opportunity to engage.